kind of like a confessional where people could sort of confess the economic challenges that they faced because of financial mistakes they made in the past. One of the things I really believe that's underutilized in life is that there's a lot of data out there that we can lean into that can help us to optimize, where we want to go next in our next step. In fact, I was talking to our youngest child yesterday, and I was sort of just telling her, I said, look, one of the biggest mistakes I think young people make is you don't listen to old people, and you don't understand that old people are just this treasure trove of knowledge, like knowledge that comes from mistakes that they've made and bad choices they've made. And a lot of them want to tell you the truth. They want to help you. They want to give you information so you don't end up as miserable as some of them are, right? And I don't know if we lean into that enough. I really don't. I'll tell you what, I sit and I get on the phone with Dr. Claude Anderson. He's the author of Powernomics, one of my favorite books of all time. I'd say my probably the favorite book. And he just talks. And as he's talking, he'll just tell me all these stories about, World War II, the Korean War, the 1960s, what the black community used to be like. And I just sit there. I don't say a word a lot of times. I know when to shut up and listen, because I want to hear from the elder. I want him to tell me what things were like in the 60s, 70s, and beyond, so that we can sort of figure out, okay, what's the blueprint going forward? What's the template? And so it's a great interaction. One is it allows me to learn from the mistakes that were made in the past. And then second of all, it allows me to communicate to him how valuable his knowledge is. And so what I want to do is I'm actually going to go through some of the mistakes that some of you submitted. I put it on my Twitter and I just asked that basic question. I said, what financial mistakes have you made and what did they cost you? And a lot of people responded. My Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins one. If you want to go and join the conversation and lay something out and do a confessional yourself, it's totally up to you. But until then, what I'll do is I will go through the next one that I saw, because these are amazing financial lessons. You'd be absolutely shocked by how much of this stuff could be prevented by one conversation, right? How many $100,000 mistakes. And believe me, everybody in this room, almost everybody in this room, let me show you an example. Almost everybody in this room has made at least one $100,000 mistake. And let me prove it to you right now. How many of you wish you had bought Bitcoin back in 2015? Give me a yes or no in the chat. How many of you wish you had bought Bitcoin? And how many of you know that if you had simply taken the amount of money you spent on a freaking iPhone and bought Bitcoin instead in, say, 2014, 2015, or maybe bought Bitcoin and the iPhone, would you be filthy, stinking rich right now? Give me a yes in the chat if you wish you had a time machine and you could go back and buy Bitcoin in 2014 or 2015, back when it was like a few $100s or something like that. Yeah, I see a lot of yeses, right? And that's proof that all of us have made at least $100,000 mistake. For some of you, it's $1 million mistake, because some of you have decent incomes and have wasted a lot of money, not because you're stupid or anything, but because you didn't have that balance, right? A lot of times people think that becoming financially successful is about extremism, and it's not extremism that's going to get you there. It's balance. And in case you want to know, for the record, you could have bought Bitcoin. Bitcoin's $107,000 now, just hit a new record high again and again and again. I've been doing that, and we've been talking about Bitcoin consistently for years. You go back to 2016, we were talking about Bitcoin in 2016, back when it was $453 per coin. So if you bought one Bitcoin for $453, I'm sure you bought something for $453 in 20. In fact, you could have bought two iPhones back then for less than $1,000 maybe. So imagine if you bought two Bitcoins in addition to that, then that's $214,000 that walked right past you on the street and you didn't see it because maybe the financial consciousness wasn't there, right? So the balance is the key, right? The balance, it's not about sort of always only investing or never wasting money. Everybody wastes money. Not everybody. Well, I think most normal people waste money. All of us have things that we spend money on that isn't going to give us a financial ROI. The key is, thank you, Travis. The key is just balance. Just eat your vegetables before you eat the chocolate cake. So that's what makes you fat. The chocolate cake didn't make you fat. It was when you ate the chocolate cake and didn't do any exercise and didn't eat anything healthy. That's what gave you the diabetes. It wasn't the chocolate cake. Don't be blaming the chocolate cake. You gotta look in the mirror, right? So eat the chocolate cake, but eat some vegetables too, right? Get your ice cream, but also go to the gym. You do that, and then you have the balance. Balance is what I think makes you happy. I'm not a financial extremist. I'm not a person that thinks that you should feel guilty because you enjoyed a nice meal, or feel bad because you went on vacation, or kick yourself because you bought a nice new car, even though you know new cars are not a great investment. So what? You want a new car? Get you a new car. Just make it up, do something else on the other side that will alleviate the guilt. Just like the Catholic Church kind of has this crazy rule where it's like you can do anything you want as long as you just come to church and give a couple dollars and confess. Right? So just take yourself into the confessional booth. I mean, the difference is you are the church. You are the pastor. You get to decide if you forgive yourself or not. And so just have a process to cleanse yourself and forgive yourself, because all of us fall off the wagon. All of us do. I fall off the wagon. I have in my head this model of what kind of man I want to be, and he's this guy that I want to be. He's a really great man. I really admire him, but I'm not. 80% of the time, I can't be him. I'm trying. I'm really trying, but there's a lot of self-forgiveness that has to occur for me to even have the courage every day to get up and climb that ladder. So the ability and the capacity to truly forgive yourself is, I think, one of the greatest superpowers you can have, because when you forgive yourself, you can hit the reset button. And I can tell you this, I believe that greatness is a membership. It's a subscription that you have to renew every single day of the week. You have to renew it every single day, and it's sometimes really say almost every single hour, and a lot of times you're going to fall short. So having that renewal process allows you to put it in the past, hit the reset button, and say, okay, it's all right. Right now, in the moment, we're about to do the very best that we absolutely can, even if we've made mistakes. I believe strongly. This is why I'm a big advocate for things like therapy, because I really believe that sometimes we get held back on reaching goals because we're so tethered to who we used to be. Right? We're still connected to all the things we did wrong, and we're defining ourselves by those things. And I can tell you that if you can get past that process, it really truly optimizes your next step in life. Okay, so forgive yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Get you the Starbucks coffee, but then buy you some Starbucks stock to go with it, and then it's okay. All sins are forgiven. All right. So anyway, let's move on. Yesterday, you guys know we did a Dr. Boyce real estate segment with Alan Bean where we talked about developing raw property. If you still want to join the real estate club, just go to drboycerealestate.com. You can do a free trial. That's drboycerealestate.com. We also have a stock market investors club. We're going to meet today at noon. We do financial stuff every single day, every single day. So if you'd like to participate in the noon session, we'll go through some stocks that I like, things like that. Just go to drboycestockmarket.com. That's drboycestockmarket.com. Okay, so let me read some of the next financial confession that I just saw. This one is from someone called Thank You Trump. I don't know what that means, but whatever. It says that their biggest mistake was building a big house and putting it on a 30-year mortgage. Okay, with high property taxes in Wisconsin and interest paid over the 15 years we lived there, I believe we could have saved at least 200,000 if we had bought a modest home instead. I was young and stupid then. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to kind of assess that. So it sounds to me like what this person is saying is that they bought a house and they regret the fact that they bought this house. That right there tells me that it was a mistake. Not for everyone. I know plenty of people that own big houses that are happy they bought the big house. My wife and I have, it's a modest house. Like we live under our means, but the house is big. It's 6,000 square feet, and I love it. I told you I love my office and the man cave, and my wife is right next door, so I get to go over there and flirt with her whenever I want to, and no one will file sexual harassment charges against me. Because on the corporate plantation, you get in trouble for that. And I like the house. And I don't know how great of an investment it is exactly. I do know that there's been a value appreciation over time. I do know that the home equity provides some degree of financial security, but more importantly, I know that I love this place. I know that, in fact, I love it so much I don't ever plan to sell it if I don't have to, and because I'm attached to it emotionally far beyond the money that I'm making from living here. So one of the things about home ownership that I think you should consider is that every investment does not have to just yield a financial ROI. Everything that you spend money on doesn't have to convert and translate into money. I'm not here to tell you to worship money. In fact, I think that that's harmful. That's not fun, to spend your whole life not enjoying any aspect of life other than the financial. I think that's what's wrong with America. So if you are in an investment and you are happy with it, then you have a right to be happy about it. If you're unhappy with it, then that means it was probably the wrong investment for you. Does that make sense? Right? Investing is not a one size fits all thing. One person's junk might be another person's treasure. There might be an opportunity where someone says, "Hey, I'm going to start a flower business because everyone needs flowers and I'm going to make a bunch of money selling flowers." I don't want to sell flowers. I don't give a damn about flowers. I don't want to spend my whole life. My life is precious to me. My time is precious to me. And if you're trying to get me to go sit with you in a business, you're gonna have to give me something other than just tell me how much money I'm gonna make. You know that because if you get me to be one track minded and I'm focusing on one dimension, then basically what you've done is you've really eliminated and annihilated my financial consciousness. Consciousness is a multidimensional sort of construct. Consciousness means I'm thinking about many variables, not just one. Just like in dating, you know, when somebody's like, oh, he's a great man. Well, why is he a great man? Well, because he's a doctor and he makes lots of money. Is that it? That's it. You ain't got no other criteria other than how much money he makes. I personally think that's a recipe for disaster. I really do. And so ultimately, um, just the fact that they mentioned that they regret buying the house, in my view, that pretty much self-defines the fact that it wasn't a good investment. But that does not mean owning a home is a bad investment. Even with things like property taxes and the cost of owning a home, just in case you want to know, the data shows that the cost of home ownership has risen extensively since the pandemic. It's insanely high. I mentioned just yesterday, I got a letter telling me that the mortgage on one of our properties is going to go up because the taxes went up and the insurance costs went up. Insurance costs have just skyrocketed lately. Maybe global warming, stuff like that. I have no idea. But either way, though, when I evaluate even that property, I kind of just am like, okay, there's a cost that's associated with owning the property, but overall, I'm glad that I own it. I like the house. I do have equity in it. Is it the most efficient way for me to build wealth? No, but it's more efficient than the way most Americans build wealth. Do you know how most Americans build wealth? They don't. They don't. They don't build wealth. Most Americans have no wealth at all. They have nothing. They have no, most Americans can't even come up with $2,000 in an emergency. And if you're in that category, I'm not making fun of you. I'm sure somebody in this room is feeling that a little bit, and I'm not making fun of you at all. I'm giving you the facts. So, in some contexts, I would say that in most contexts, an inefficient investment is better than no investment at all. It's like if my goal is to get from point A to point B, and I got to get across town, and I start walking, and I'm walking really slow. If someone comes along and says you're walking too slow, you should be going faster, you should be in a car, you should be running. And then let's say that I say, yeah, you're right. I should be in a car. And then I stop walking at all. I say, well, you know what? I'm just going to sit here because I don't have a car. Am I better off or worse off? If I'm sitting still, is that better or worse than doing the best I can with what I've got? Walking slow is much better than sitting still. It's not the optimal way to travel. It's not going to get you there the fastest, but at least you're moving. At least you're not going backward. So the same thing is true with investing. Do you know how many people I run into? Remember, I've been doing this a long time, 30 years. Do you know how many people I run into who have such a fear of making a bad investment that they invest absolutely nothing at all? Again, there's probably a lot of you in this room. There's over 1,000 people in here, and I guarantee you that at least a couple hundred of you feel that way. Well, if I buy stock and the price goes down, I don't want to lose money. Da da da. Well, you're already losing money. The bucket is already leaking, people. The money's already going down the drain. So the first step is not figuring out how to fill the bucket. The first step is figuring out how to slow down the amount of money that you're losing. That's the goal. We're not trying to be Bill Gates yet. We're trying to figure out how to slow down the gates of financial hell that we've already unleashed by committing ourselves to excessive American consumerism. So bad investing is typically, in most cases, not every case, there's always exceptions. Bad investing is almost better than no investing at all, almost always better. Now, when I say almost always better, I'm excluding situations where bad investing causes you to throw good money after bad. Then that's bad. That's really bad, right? Sometimes investing, if you do it wrong, it can put you in a worse situation than you were before, in which case you've accelerated the degree to which you're going backward. But even if I buy a stock, if I go buy some shares in Broadcom, for example, Broadcom is a stock that's been killing it lately because they're really, really deep in this AI race. And just for a side note, I'd be careful about Nvidia. A lot of the major tech giants that are buying chips from Nvidia are starting to make their own chips. So Nvidia is going to have to find somebody else to sell their chips to. Again, just in case you're wondering why I'm not buying more Nvidia. But anyway, if I buy, so when I mention Broadcom and how well it's been doing, first question I get 9 times out of 10, because I've been doing this for a while, is should I buy it? Is it going to keep going up? And I have to give the same answer. I don't know. Like, I think it could keep going up. They're a good business, but I don't know. And this is based on academic research. This is not my opinion. This is what the scholars say when in thousands of research papers that have been written on whether or not you can predict the price of a stock. Well, even though I don't know if it's going to go up or down, I can definitely tell you though that buying Broadcom is probably better than whatever else you might have done with that money if you were not going to invest it. At least you're in the game. At least you have a chance. At least you're participating in the economy in a meaningful way, meaning that let's say you buy Broadcom and you bought it at the wrong time, and let's say the price drops by 20% over the next 4 years or something like that. Well, at least 4 years from now, you'll have 80% of your money stored in a bucket that you can draw out of in case of a financial emergency. Most people have no bucket. There's nothing in the bucket. There's not even a damn bucket. And if there is a bucket, the bucket has holes in it. So that first step toward financial security starts with even faulty financial preservation, just some degree of preservation. Remember, before you run the ball down the field as the quarterback, you got to know how to protect the ball. And what's unfortunate is that our economy is built on convincing millions of people to give the ball away. They're teaching you how to fumble your money. They want you to throw an interception. They're telling you that the defensive back is your wide receiver, and you're doing it every time, especially when you're black. So keep that in mind as you sort of decide what your next move is going to be. Now let's move on. Let me analyze this financial confession a little bit deeper. So I'm gonna read it again, and then because that part about buying a home I think is a complex sort of thing. Real estate tends to be a wealth builder, a wealth driver. Owning good. In fact, we talked about this last night when we were meeting in the real estate club. Basically, McDonald's, for example, is not a hamburger company, really. They kind of pretend to be a hamburger, cheeseburger company, whatever restaurant, but actually they're a real estate company. How many of y'all knew that? How many of y'all knew? If you were there last night, you know this. How many of y'all know that McDonald's does, they don't really care a whole lot about selling cheese. Like that doesn't mean they don't care at all, but selling the cheeseburgers, it's kind of like that drug dealer who owns a nightclub, you know? Like they want to make money from the nightclub, but the nightclub is a front for the real money. The real money is that they got the dope in the back, right? So McDonald's, their cool little front is that they figured out that the best way to make money was not from selling hamburgers and cheeseburgers and hoping that customers show up. They realized that the best way to make money was to actually own the real estate that the hamburgers and cheeseburgers are being made on. So what they do is they buy a bunch of real estate. They own probably $100 billion worth of real estate. And they then get these franchisees who all have a dream, like I want to sell cheeseburgers and make a lot of money. And they say, great, we can hook you up. We have some property here. You're gonna lease the property from us. So we're gonna be the landlord, you're gonna be the tenant, right? So we're the owner, you're the renter. And then while you're renting our property, we're going to give you the game. We're going to give you the blueprint on how to sell the perfect cheeseburger, and we're going to wish you luck. And so if you fail, then, sorry, tough luck. If we have to do you like Jay-Z did Diddy, hey, there's no relationship here. We're just business associates. We're not really friends like that, right? You know, but if you succeed, we'll just take a little tiny piece of the action. So what they create is a scenario that says heads heads we win, tails you lose. because we're McDonald's and we ain't losing. We're not losing. Why? Well, because the whole time you were trying to figure out how to sell a better cheeseburger, we're making money from the value from the fact that property values almost always go up. Why? Well, because we pick high quality territory that has lots of traffic flow. So real estate like that tends to go up. It's commercial property in high traffic areas. Oh, we ain't losing on the capital gains. And you were paying us rent the whole time. The last part, that little whatever 5% or something that I get from you selling cheeseburgers, well, that's just icing on the cake. And that's maybe so to some extent we never really married you. We just dated you and kind of wanted to see where things went from there. And so what I would say is from that kind of tells you a little bit about business models and I don't even know why I brought up the McDonald's story. I guess I just think it's kind of cool, but it really speaks to also to how risk assessment is an important part of investing, right? During the California gold rush, there were lots of people that went out and spent lots of money, spent their life savings, trying to figure out how to dig for gold. And most of the people that spent their life savings to learn how to dig for gold found nothing. They lost everything. But then there were people who said, "Look, I don't want to dig for gold with you because I'm not trying to put it all on the line. However, what I will do is I will sell you a hot meal that you can come eat after you finish digging for gold." Because I know that whether you find gold or don't find gold, you're always going to be hungry. Levi's started their whole company by saying, we're not digging for gold with you because that's crazy. We wish you the best. But what we will do is we created these pants that are really, really rugged. We call them blue jeans. That's our invention. And you can wear these while you're digging for gold, and that's gonna make it easier for you to dig for gold. So that's what they call the picks and shovel business model. So a lot of times, the way you sort of your economic consciousness, having an economic awareness, having the ability to see the whole playing field, can be a huge asset when you're trying to figure out how to win the game. Because if you can see the whole field, if you have financial consciousness, that's what we talk about every morning, then you can kind of look and say, huh, all those people are digging for gold. Okay, you got the gold miners, the people selling the food, you got the people doing the transport. Where do I want to be in this game? So it's like if I'm watching a football game from the booth, I'm looking down and I can see there's the quarterback, there's the defensive back, there's the cheerleaders, there's the coaches, there's the wide receiver, there's the linebacker. Which position do I want to play? So financial consciousness, and the reason this is important to give to your children at an early age is essential to being able to figure out which part of this economic machine you want to be positioned in. And what is sinister about the American economy, and to some extent racist, but it's not all racism that's driving this. It's really more so greed mixed with racism. Racism allows greed to really flourish. Is that with black people, I think that the goal is to minimize and diminish your financial consciousness, where they say, don't worry about everything else that's happening on the field. You're going to be the water boy. Here's your play your position. Your position is to be the employee. That's it. And that's all that your culture is going to offer you. That's all that you're going to learn about from your family. That's all you're going to even know about. You're not going to know about billion-dollar business deals being done in the back room. You're not going to learn about raising capital. You're not going to learn about being a producer. You're not. That's for grown folks. That's what we white folk, we wealthy white folks do. We want you Negroes to just figure out how you can get a rap deal or something. Maybe you can become a basketball player if you're lucky. Maybe you can become a comedian. Just get out there, boy, make us laugh, right? But when they're doing the big boy stuff, it's kind of like, that's a little bit above your pay grade. So we don't really, this conversation is probably going to hurt your head anyway. So effectively, to some extent, by us sort of elevating our economic conversations that we have with each other and the conversations that we have with the children, you're expanding their range of possibilities and options. I use that word options a lot, even in my personal life. I was using that word options last night when I was talking to our 14-year-old about college. I said, I don't know what you want to do in your life, and I don't want to constrain you. I don't ever want to be a barrier to you finding yourself and finding out what's going to help you live an optimal life and to be happy. I said, well, one thing I do know is that having more options, if you are conscious and intelligent and intentional about who you are and know who you are, having more options tends to lead to freedom, which tends to lead to happiness. Free people tend to be happier than slaves. Can we at least agree on that? That free people who are conscious and know what they want, They tend to do better in life, in happiness, if they have a range of options as opposed to being locked into one outcome that was chosen by somebody else. So I said, look, when you get ready for college, I believe you should go and visit 10, 15 schools. And I said, I'll take you to those schools. I said, don't let that stop you. Like, let me know like what you want to do, and I'll support you because I want you to have options. And then at that point, when you make the decision, I'm gonna support whatever decision you make, as long as you think it through, and as long as you know that it's gonna get you to where you want to get to. And I was like, I'm full of plenty of worthless information. So if you ever want to hear get lectured by your parent on something on a critical decision, I'd be happy to do that. But otherwise, my goal is not to get in the way of you being who you want to be and living the life you're supposed to live. Right. So these are the kinds of conversations we have because I think these are the conversations that are essential for us to really find ourselves and find who we are. It almost feels almost like a religion in a way. Like it feels very spiritual. It feels very deep. It's very it taps into your subconscious. And the economics to me is just kind of a decoration around the fact that money is a tool for the enhancement of the things in your life that matter so much more than money. Like money is not the finish line. Money is a destination that you pass on your way to the real finish line. The real finish line is something that's far deeper than just these little stupid green pieces of paper that we've suddenly assigned all this value to. Okay. So anyway, let me move on. Before I move on, I want to let you all know that we actually have a calendar now because we do so much stuff in the Black Business School. I had the team put together a BBS calendar that literally gives you all the stuff that we have going on this week. And there's a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to go through all of it right now. But as you guys know, on Wednesday nights we do Powernomics training. It's free at 8:30. Tonight we're doing a VIP group consultation for those of you that are interested in stock options, and also we're doing the Portfolio Power Play at 12. So I'll put this link in the chat if you guys want to grab it, and also I'll text it out later. If you want to be on the text list for this class, text the word morning, MORNING, on your phone to the phone number 87948. So text morning to the phone number 87948, and you're gonna get stuff from us. We're not here to bother you. We're here to help you. So hopefully that will support you in what you're trying to do. So there's the link to the calendar. So feel free to keep that. I'll attach it to a URL or something. So that way you'll be able to look up stuff whenever you want to see what we got going on in the Black Business School. All right. So going back to this question when we were talking about financial mistakes. So this person says, that they built a big house, they put it on a 30-year mortgage with high property taxes in Wisconsin and interest paid over 15 years. We lived there. I believe we could have saved at least $200,000 if we had bought a modest home instead. I was young and stupid then. Okay, so I don't think that the person was young and stupid in the sense that what they did was a dumb idea. I think that what makes them young and stupid, not to, no, but because I was young and stupid. I don't know if anybody else in here was young and stupid. I was definitely stupider than I am now, right? So hopefully I'm not too stupid. But then again, I'm sure 10 years from now, I'll look back at myself and say, gosh, I was stupid back then, right? That's called growth, right? But I think the only thing that might make this person young and stupid is not that they made the wrong decision, but that they made the wrong decision for themselves. There's a lot of conversation about debt and whether or not debt is good or bad. So they said, I got this 30-year mortgage, it sucked, blah, 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 blah. And I spent all this money on interest and everything else. There's a whole conversation that can be had about a personal relationship with debt. Debt is not good. Debt is not bad. Debt is just a tool. Debt is powerful. Debt can allow you to make your dreams come true. Elon Musk became the richest man in human history because of debt. If he did not have access to debt, he would probably be worth he'd be worth a few hundred million, maybe a few million, but he wouldn't be a multi-billionaire. Okay, so debt can be an accelerator of what it is you're trying to accomplish because debt is access to capital. When you have access to capital, you have access to income and wealth because capital is put to some efficient use that creates income. So, for example, if I own Madison Square Garden and let you borrow Madison Square Garden from me, and you know a little bit about how to monetize Madison Square Garden, you can make millions of dollars because you own this gigantic stadium and you can do stuff with that. Or if I loan you my car, if I loan you just a bunch of cash and you know how to put your money in T-bills, like if I could borrow Warren Buffett's money for a day, then the Black Business School would suddenly be $1 billion company because Warren Buffett's money could make me tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in one day. Just having that money, plopping it in T-bills, making quick investments, you could literally make a ton of money from that. So debt is not bad. But for this person, it sounds like debt was bad for them because they don't like the interest that they paid. They don't like the taxes that they paid. So what they paid out was more than what they feel like they received. Okay. Now, from a mathematical standpoint, I don't know if that's true or not. A lot of people talk about paying interest as if it's a complete waste of money. That they'll do something like they'll say, well, if you buy this, $400,000 house, by the time you're done paying it off for 30 years, you'll pay 700,000 in interest or whatever the number is. I don't know what the number is. And in the minds of most people, on first glance, I get it. They say, "Gosh, this is such a waste of money. This is so stupid." Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Um, what is interest? Here's what interest kind of is. Interest is it's like if I need a place to live and I have nowhere else to go, and you let me use your property to have a place to live and I pay you rent to stay there, that doesn't mean that you got over on me or that you screwed me. That might not be the best place I want to be long term, but that doesn't mean like I've rented apartments and I was very happy to pay rent because I needed a place to live. Um, if I let you use my stuff, whether it's my money, my car, my house, my land, or whatever, there should be a fee for that. Right? Like if I go to you and you've got something, if you got a car and I say, "Hey, let me use your car for the next year." And you can't use your car. I'm using it. You think I'm gonna expect you to let me use your car for a year for nothing? Do you understand? So interest, among other things, it includes a lot of variables in terms of what makes an interest rate. But one of them is what they call the impatience parameter. The impatience parameter is basically kind of represents compensation you receive for the fact that if you're using my stuff, I can't use my stuff. So if you go get money from a bank or from your parents or from anybody, when you're using their capital, that means they can't use their capital. If you're using my horse to plow your fields, and that means I can't use the horse to plow my fields. So why would you think that you can use my stuff and not compensate me for that? Do you understand? So interest is natural. It would make no sense to not have interest involved with people using each other's stuff, right? You'd probably expect to be compensated if I took something that you needed and I said, "Hey, let me just keep it for about 5 years." Well, you'd probably want me to pay you or something for it for the use of your valuable item. So don't sort of look at the interest to be just clear and direct evidence that buying a home is for suckers or that buying a car is for idiots or anything like that. Cars are a little bit tougher to justify because you don't have capital gains or anything. It's literally just something that typically you're buying because you just want to have this thing that'll get you from point A to point B. But even a car could be justified if it's being used to make money. So ultimately, I kind of think that when people look at the amount of interest they pay and they say, "Oh, this proves that it's a ripoff," I would challenge that and I would help them. I would say, what you thought that someone's going to let you use $250,000 of their resources and you compensate them with nothing. You give them nothing for that because you could have bought the house. You could have bought that $400,000 house with cash. You could have just pulled $400,000 out of your bank account and bought the house with cash, right? But most people cannot do that. So, effectively, what financial institutions offer, good ones anyway, is they say, "Here, we'll go ahead and give you the house. We'll let you live in it, even though you don't own it yet. The bank still owns it, and you pay a fee for renting our capital. You can always pay it off if you want to. You can pay it off early whenever you want." Most people can't do that. So you can argue that the ability to buy a home is in the best case scenario, a good service that's provided. Now, we know that it can become predatory, though, right? We know what predatory lending is. We know what it looks like to charge interest rates that are too high. We know about the shenanigans that some banks get into when they engage in unethical behavior. So, all that's on the table. I want to make that 100% clear. Nothing is 100% of anything, right? So we can talk about that, but in a way, think of it like like restaurants, right? The existence of restaurants is a good thing because that gives you places that you can go eat so you don't have to cook food at home and you pay them a fee, which is typically a premium on top of the cost of the food because you're happy to receive the convenience. you always have the option of not eating at restaurants at all or picking a different restaurant. But we also know that some restaurants charge too much. They'll give you food poisoning, or the food will make you fat, sick, and give you diabetes one day, right? So all these things can exist at the same time. But if you have consciousness, this is where the word consciousness comes into play again. Consciousness is deeper than just intelligence. Consciousness is really a type of awareness. So if you have consciousness about what you're putting in your body and why, or how to eat within your budget, then the existence of restaurants becomes a good thing. See, this economy is something that is very complex. America is the richest country on earth because we have the strongest economy out here, and we have all these economic engines that create all these possibilities that don't exist in other places in the world. In some cases, it becomes a very bad thing. In some cases, it becomes predatory, exploitative, and very harmful, right? Like, for example, the way the Food and Drug Administration is in business with these companies that are selling food that's literally just, giving kids diabetes and killing people, giving everybody cancer, right? That's the bad outcome. But putting that to the side, the good outcome is that you have all these things you can do, all these possibilities you can include in your life, but there's one critical condition that must be applied for you to get the most out of this situation. You have to have economic education, financial literacy, economic consciousness in order for this to work for you. If you do not, then this does become harmful and predatory and exploitative. It does. It absolutely does. So if I give my child um, some sort of car that's like this complex, it's a NASCAR or something, it can go 250 miles an hour. I should probably teach them how to drive the car. I should probably teach them how it works. Or if I give them an airplane, I should teach them the mechanics of airplanes. When I became an airplane pilot, I had to go through a lot of training to understand and respect the power of the airplane. I had to learn rules of flying and engagement, how to take off, and it was taught with a type of seriousness to say safety must always be first, because if you do this wrong, you're going to kill yourself and kill somebody else. This airplane is powerful. It can get you from point A to point B very quickly. It was really, really powerful to be able to get in a plane and get somewhere in 30 minutes that normally would have took me, 2 hours or something, right? But with that power comes a tremendous amount of responsibility. And also there's a type of complexity to all this that you have to take care to understand before you jump in that damn plane and just fly off into the sky. Well, the same thing I think is true with the American economy. Money is very important. Money is very powerful. Money can open doors. Money can create peace in your life, unlike anything else. Money can afford you options and opportunities and possibilities that don't exist when you have no money. It can allow you to do things for people that you love. It can expand your universe in ways that are just amazing and beautiful. And that's why I think in my life, becoming an expert on money was very empowering for me as a black man, because I said, "Oh, I know where money's at. I know how it works. I know how to go get it." And that allows me to do a lot of other things in my life. I can do things that can help me to become a stronger father and a better husband and all these other things. Like money can give you a lot of stuff. I can get you access to things. It can get you laid. It can get you whatever you want. But money in America is very complicated. Capitalism is a tricky beast. Capitalism is that economic airplane such that if you don't learn how to fly the damn thing safely, it will get you killed. Many people have every day, every year, people die over money. People get locked up over money. People get murdered over money. People lose their relationships over money. People catch STDs over money, right? So money is very powerful. In America, money is very complex. And just like that powerful, complex airplane, when I was learning how to fly it, it was a matter of critical importance that I learned how to fly the thing properly. Because if I did not, then something bad was going to happen. So here's where I'm going with this. Here's the final conclusion on this. It's essential that we understand the importance of making sure that our children are economically intelligent, financially aware, economically conscious, and understand how this damn thing works. Because if you give them those gifts of financial consciousness and financial literacy and economic intelligence, then just like that airplane, they'll be able to fly as high as they want to fly. They'll fly as far as they want to fly. They're not going to be stuck on the ground. They're not going to be moving slow. They're going to be moving fast, going hard, and accomplishing anything that they want in life, pretty much. But if they never learn how to fly, they will either be stuck on the ground forever, looking up and watching all the other planes go by, watching the economy happen and not participating in it, or they're going to get access to an airplane and they're going to crash the damn thing. Tell me I'm lying. How many times do you see situations in the NBA, NFL, or whatever, or entertainment where somebody who was never trained on how money works or how to manage money got access to $100 million and blew the shit in about a year? How many times have you watched 30 for 30 where some guy's like, yeah, man, when I got signed with the Bills, I was making, to 5 million a year and man, we was partying, we was doing this and doing that, and then the money was just gone. It happens all the time. All the time. Or even lottery winners. There's so many stories of lottery winners who win the lottery. They get 50 million, $100 million, generational wealth kind of money. Not only is the money gone, but their life is worse after they got the money than it was before they had the money. Not having money kept them safe. See, when you're not trained on how to use something, it's like if I don't know how to drive a race car, staying out of the car keeps me safe. It's gonna keep me still. I won't be able to move, but literally not being inside that car means that I'm gonna survive. I have a greater likelihood of survival than I would have if I got access to the damn car. So giving me access to the car makes me think that now I'm free. Now I can fly. Now I can go, but I don't know how to drive. So then next thing you know, I crash into the wall and the car explodes and I'm dead. So getting access to the car can make your life worse or make your life better. And it comes down to one thing. Did anybody ever care enough about you to take the time to teach you how to drive? Did anybody sit down and say, here's the steering wheel, here's the engine, be careful with the torque, and you got to make sure you put on your seat? Did anybody do that? Because every time you hear, if you see the world through my eyes, it's very frustrating. I watch and I see entertainer after entertainer like Fantasia saying, well, she got that real high pitched voice. She'd be like, well, I had a whole lot of money and then I lost it all. And then I got a whole lot more money and then I lost that too. Like, and I'm kind of like, come on, man. Like, what is happening here? So, so I will just tell you this. And I'm gonna close off on with this. I believe, and this is gonna sound mean, maybe, I don't know, but I believe if you love your kids and love your grandkids, you're gonna put them in spaces where they're gonna learn how to get money and how to control money, how to manage money, how to use money. If you care about them, you will prepare them for what lies ahead of them. Because if you don't, they will either be stuck and not be able to move. They'll be stuck in a type of slavery that capitalism provides, or they'll get that big opportunity. God will come along and bless them with a bunch of money, and then you're going to be heartbroken when you watch how quickly they waste everything, how quickly they take that blessing and flush it down the toilet. Because remember, the word poor stands for what? Passing over opportunities repeatedly. Passing over opportunities repeatedly. So every time you see a Whitney Houston or DMX who could have been a billionaire but died because of drugs. Well, that's passing over an opportunity repeatedly because that those two individuals probably, could have created some sort of institution that employs 100,000 people. Every time you see an athlete who burns through $100 million, well, that's passing over an opportunity. That's flushing a blessing down the toilet. Every time you see a kid who has, the genius of a Bill Gates or a Mark Zuckerberg, but he's suckered into going and getting a corporate job and never realizing his potential. Well, that's taking a blessing and flushing it down the toilet. So God is looking down on you and he's like, I keep sending you these opportunities and you're not able to even see them or have the courage to pursue them or the preparation to maximize the utilization of the opportunity I provided for you. So I think all of us have to stop waiting on the white man to bless us. Stop acting like we don't have any opportunity. Stop acting like we don't have a chance to do things better and just commit to the idea of stepping our game up a little bit. And one easy way to step the game up is to have a relentless commitment to economic intelligence. That's it. Like I'm gonna make sure my kids are gonna know they're gonna know what to do with a dollar. Do you know? I'm gonna tell y'all this story. Then I'm gonna be done with this. This is a great financial story that I think everyone should know. Does anybody know Kenny Gamble in Philadelphia from Gamble and Huff? Anybody know? Anybody heard of Gamble and Huff? If you don't know, I'll tell you who Kenny Gamble is. He's kind of like this boss in Philadelphia. He's a great guy. I've known Kenny for many years. And Kenny was part of a musical duo, Gamble and Huff. They were kind of like they became the Philadelphia version of Motown in my opinion. That's my perception of it. And so they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They've written hundreds, if not thousands of songs, and they're world famous. Kenny is an amazing guy. I love talking to Kenny. He's 100% pro-black. And he's super smart. And so Kenny, when I go to Philadelphia, it's a fascinating experience because I'll walk down these different city blocks and they'll say that building belongs to Mr. Huff. That building belongs to Mr. Huff. That or sorry, Mr. Gamble. Sorry, I meant to say Gamble. Sorry about that. That building belongs to Mr. Gamble. This whole block belongs to Mr. Gamble. That school belongs to Mr. Gamble. And I'm like, wow, how did you do all this? How did you accumulate all these assets and all this wealth? And so what Kenny um, told me, and he's told this story, I'm sure, to a lot of other people, is that when he first got signed in the music industry, when he first started making money, he said that my first goal was to figure out what do you do with money. He said, I didn't know what to do with money. So he said a lot of his friends were buying big cars, fur coats, stuff they did back in the 70s, you know. And Kenny was like, no, I want to actually make this last. I want to grow this into something. So the first thing that Kenny did was he applied the rule that we're talking about in today's class, which is he said, I've got this great opportunity, this great economic engine coming in that's working on my behalf, this race car that been given access to. I need to learn how to drive the damn thing. So what he did was he went to a race car driver. He went to the only person he knew that had any money. This I think he said it was an old Jewish guy, and because they make financial literacy, financial intelligence a prerequisite for being part of the community. They do, right? We can do the same thing. We already do this. Many of you already do this in your family. So don't put anybody on the pedestal because a lot of you are doing it better than anybody else out here. So I applaud you for that. Um, so he goes to this old Jewish guy, and the guy basically took him in the back and said, you know, this is what I do with my money. Here are the different types of financial accounts. You want to buy some real estate? Here's how you buy stock. And I don't even know how long he spent showing him how to do this, but let me tell you what Kenny did was Kenny went and he bought a lot of property in black neighborhoods. He went to his old neighborhood that nobody wanted to live, and he bought dozens of houses in that neighborhood because the houses were cheap. All the other black people were trying to get out of the black neighborhood. He was trying to go in, which means he was applying a very important rule of investing, which is to be contrarian. Warren Buffett always says you should be greedy when others are fearful, fearful when others are greedy. Or if you following the crowd and doing what everybody else is doing, that's typically not going to work. You want to be buying the things that no one else wants and selling the things that everybody wants. So basically, Kenny went to the neighborhoods that nobody wanted to live in. He tried to get his buddies to partner with him. He told them all, he said, hey, let's go buy up our community. They didn't want to do it. They wanted to go buy European jewels and designer brands and whatever they did with their money. And Kenny goes and buys all this property. And then he helped to clean up this neighborhood over time, and he just kind of waited too. And over the years, what happened was when white folks in Philadelphia started realizing, like, hey, wait a minute, the people in the hood have access to riverfront property, property downtown. Like this is valuable real estate. They came back and suddenly those property values were going up, up, up because everybody wanted to live there. And so he arrived before the gentrification happened, instead of sort of sitting still and watching the world go by and then complaining as the gentrification occurred. He participated in it. He bought a lot of property that anybody could have bought because nobody wanted it. And then the values went up and he made a bunch of money from that. So my point is to say that I believe one of the most important things Kenny did in terms of financial consciousness is he understood something that's really important for smart people to realize. All of you are smart people because you're here, and I honor that. The best thing you can realize as a smart person is the value of trying to know what you don't know. The biggest thing I learned as a professor, and I went to school, I'm talking about I studied 8 hours a day, 7 days a week for damn near a decade to get my doctorate. And that was 20 something years ago. I've learned 5 times more since then. And the biggest thing I learned is not how much I know or how smart I am. I learned how much I don't know. And so my goal in life is not to impress anybody with how much I know. It's to explore and discover and try to learn what I don't know. That's why if you ever meet me in public, you'll know I'm gonna listen to you. I'm not really gonna sit here and try to tell you everything I know. You kind of know a lot of that. I want to know what you know. I want to hear your perspective and your point of view. I need you to educate me. So Kenny had this consciousness of what lied outside his bubble. He said, I don't know how to manage this money. But I do know money matters, and I do know I want to keep it, and I do know I want to do something good with it. So he said, let me go talk to some people who know what I don't know. And he specifically and intentionally went about going through the process of learning how to control this big economic machine he had access to. And that's what made the difference in his economic legacy. That's what allowed him to employ lots of people. That's what allowed him to leave assets to his family, right? So ultimately, what I would encourage you to do is the summary, the takeaway from all this conversation is that you have to make economic intelligence a priority in your household. It does not require extensive hours and hours of training. It doesn't mean you have to necessarily go to a special school. It starts with conversations. If you simply have basic conversations with your loved ones, with your children, they're going to have an awareness that will exceed other kids and they're going to make decisions that are different. All you got to do is light the match, and then they'll start the forest fire. But you got to give them the spark. That's your job, to give them the spark. You ain't got to do all the work. Just give them the spark. Give them the opportunity to realize that there's something out there better. There's something out there bigger. There's something out there they need to pursue. If you do that, then I guarantee you the kids are going to do the rest. They're going to take it and they're going to run with it. But you got to pass that damn baton. And we got to stop having these goofy conversations we've had before. They keep our kids in an economic box. I'm done. I hope this was helpful. Thank you guys for hanging out today. We're gonna meet tomorrow, 10 a.m. like we do every single day. If you're not on the text list for this class, pull out your phone, text the word morning, MORNING, to the phone number 87948. So text morning to the number 87948. Also, if you want to join us for Stock Market Tuesday, where we're going to do stock market stuff today at noon, you can do a free trial in the Stock Market Club by going to drboycestockmarket.com. That's drboycestockmarket.com. Also, later on today, I'll text you all a link to the calendar so you can see everything that's happening this week in the Black Business School. We got you covered. We got you back.